may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
All right, guys, what we are going to be doing in this video, honestly, is probably going to be the most important thing that we do all week. And we are going to be looking at some of these teams that so far have been generating a ridiculous amount of runs. We are going to be looking at the top teams in baseball, how many runs they have generated up to date, and if we should expect this going forward. Maybe these are teams that you just avoid at all costs. If you're having to decide who you're going to start at starting pitcher, if you're going to have to decide maybe to go and trade for one of these players in their lineups, I think that this should just be an informational video to help y'all out. But what I need to do real quick is just make the announcement. Guys, if you have not joined our free fantasy baseball chat for whatever reason, I have no idea why, but please go down there and join. I want to make sure that we have that chat more active. There are already a ton of people in the chat, but it's not as active as I would like it to be. So if you want to join our free chat, go down to the comment section, go to the description of the video, and you don't need a credit card, you don't need an email address or anything. You literally click the link, you choose your nickname, and then you're in the chat and you can start talking fantasy baseball. But that should be it. Of course, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into it. And our first team we are going to be talking about is going to be a team that not too many people expected them to be this high up in total runs scored. It's going to be the Cincinnati Reds. And obviously you hear the Reds and you already know that they have been fantastic up to date. You already know that they have been just generating so much run production. And obviously this is a team that has been dealing with a bad pitching rotation for a very long time now. But so far they are tied for the first spot in Major League for 88 total runs. And to go along with this, they've had a 269 average, a 345 on base percentage, and a 479 slugging. So clearly they are not only at the top with runs, but you see the underlying stats with their batting averages kind of making sense for why they're up here. And this is going to be useful when we get to a team later on in the video where it looks like their run production so far has drastically been higher than what you would expect based on their underlying metrics. So then you could look at players in that lineup and go, you know what, maybe we want to sell them. Maybe we don't need to be as scared about them as we initially thought. But in the case of the Reds, I think that they are legit. I think that obviously you should expect them to regress to the mean slightly. They're not going to keep their spot at number one, but they should easily be one of the top teams in baseball in overall run production going forward. And now if we look across the lineup, there are a couple players I want to highlight. First, the number one player that was actually being drafted in fantasy baseball drafts from this lineup was Eugenio Suarez at an ADP of 67 overall in high stakes leagues. Now this stands out because you initially think, okay, a team that is going to generate a ton of runs, their top player you would expect to be a first, second round pick, because we know that those lineups that are generating runs, they are getting through the rotation. They're getting through the rotation. These players at the very top, they're going to be seeing more at-bats. And when they are stepping up to the plate, they're going to have a better shot at seeing another runner on base where they can generate RBIs. They are going to have a better shot of actually scoring when they get on base themselves, because we can naturally assume that the hitters coming up after them are going to be able to put the ball in play. Those hitters are going to be able to advance them when they get on base. So it's surprising to see that the highest player was being drafted in the 6th round this past season. But anyway, if we look at what he's done himself so far this year, in 2021, he has actually been very disappointing. And this is another surprising thing, where in 48 at-bats, his batting average is under 200, his on-base percentage is at 322, his slugging is barely under 400. So maybe Suarez is a player that you look at and you go, okay, so if the rest of his lineup is performing above expectation, he himself is performing below expectation, you can buy the dip. And if he goes back to what you would expect from his numbers coming into the season with the projections, and the other people in his lineup can maintain their current rates, then you could expect him to be, I don't want to say an elite fantasy baseball asset, but someone you're very excited about. Now, the next player that was actually being drafted from the Reds this offseason was Nick Castellanos, who was being drafted at the 78th overall pick. And here he's had a great season so far, especially if you're looking at his power, where he's at a 57 at-bats, a 316 average, a 350 on base percentage, and a 667 slugging. And honestly, I'm not interested in selling. I want to hold on. I want to see where this goes, but I want to make sure everybody is going out and putting out some offers for Eugenio Suarez and just seeing what that cost would look like compared to where he was being drafted this offseason. All right, so now let's get to the other top team in baseball. Now, this team, everybody expected to be at the top. It's going to be the Los Angeles Dodgers, who also have generated 88 runs up to date. And this is a surprise to no one. Everybody was expecting the Dodgers to be up top. Now, their underlying metrics are even more impressive than what you had from the Reds, where they have a 271 average, a 365 on base percentage, and a 471 slugging. So you obviously love to see the power throughout the entire lineup. Now, if we go through their top players who were drafted this offseason, you have Mookie Betts, obviously, at 1. He was an early first-round pick, and he himself has been good, not elite. He hasn't been standing out like some of the other players, like maybe a Mike Trout was in that same range. But you have him with 41 at-bats so far, a batting average at 293, on-base percentage slightly over 400, and a slugging slightly over 500. Really, there's no actionable take to be made here. Obviously, the owner, Mookie Betts, isn't going to be willing to sell him, and if you own him, you're not really going to be willing to sell him either. So just a hold. Just wanted to go through and give that update. Now, a player that I really want to talk about because we were all in on drafting him this offseason is actually Corey Seager, who was going in the middle of the third round. And through 55 at-bats so far this year, he has seen a batting average over 300. He has seen an on-base percentage over 400, and his slugging is up there at 537. So Corey Seager, in the most productive lineup in baseball, is producing exactly what we expected coming into the season. You love to see that. If you did not draft him in the third round, maybe you go out there and put some offers out, because I think that there's just going to be more of this going forward. All right, so now let's get to maybe one of the most surprising teams in baseball this year. It's going to be the Red Sox, coming out and not only generating 82 runs up to date, but a 281 average, a 346 on base percentage, and a 463 slugging. And why I am so excited about this is, I don't want to say our number one player talked about this offseason, but someone that we were consistently telling y'all to draft was actually Xander Bogaerts, who was also going at the end of the third round, playing shortstop right after Corey Seager. And in 2021, I mean, he has been elite. You look at his 51 at-bats, he has a 412 average, a 464 on base percentage, and a slugging over 500. So Xander Bogaerts, no, we are not looking to sell him. I understand that Boston has probably been outproducing what we should be expecting going forward. But Xander Bogaerts himself, I mean, this is a player we are excited about coming into the season, and it looks like the reasons we were excited are becoming true, and he is going back to that 2019 form that he had. Now, I don't want to spend too much time with anybody else in this lineup. Please go down to the comment section. Let me know what y'all are thinking with Boston, because obviously this is one of the teams on the list that not too many people expected to be up here. Now, the next team we are going to be bringing up here is going to be the Los Angeles Angels, and they are just a clear tier down in the overall runs that they have produced so far. While those other top teams are high 80s, they're down in the low 70s at 71 runs. Now, they've been putting up impressive underlying metrics with the 265 average, a 331 on base percentage, a 425 slugging, and not too much is becoming unexpected from this lineup. I mean, you have Mike Trout just being the elite baseball player that he is, one of the best players in baseball. You have Anthony Rendon, a player that I honestly wanted to avoid in fantasy baseball drafts this offseason, coming through as expected. I mean, he is matching his ADP, and this lineup has been good. Please go down to the comment section. Let me know what y'all are thinking about them. But our last lineup we are going to be talking about that I really do not like is going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. And the reason I am going to be telling y'all to sell the Cardinals here is the fact that they've generated 71 runs so far this year. But if you look at the underlying metrics, really, I don't think this is going to maintain going forward, because they have a 231 average, a 318 on base percentage, a 394 slugging. So if you look at all these numbers across the other teams that are at the top in runs, the Cardinals stand out as people that are just getting lucky. Whenever someone gets on base, they are having a good chance at actually scoring. We know that is, I don't want to say random, but you would rather see the teams have the consistently high slugging, have the consistency with the on-base percentage, where the Cardinals don't. So they've just been getting the nice bounce with the ball. Now, Nolan Arenado has been good, and I just want to say that because he's also a player I wasn't extremely excited about coming into the season, but he's been good so far. And I will say that I'm probably still willing to sell just because with this Cardinals team, I'd be surprised if this run production continues. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow. I want to give a big thank you for everyone joining the flock. Devin Strom, Alejandro, Mark, Jared, Caleb, and IV of Lean, Randotron, Micah, Larry, and Tyler.